All right, ladies and gentlemen, another day, another Battle Brothers video. I'm trying to get all these Battle Brothers videos out the way before I have to disappear into World of Warcraft for like 2.5, 3 months. And I literally will not be able to build this Battle Brothers company, which is sad. But I'm still in the process of looking at it like purely mathematically and theoretically. And basically, what I did was I had to get up off my butt and actually look at the initiative values of our enemies to try to figure out what our initiative like break point is on our brothers, and where it's good to have overwhelm and in what fights and versus what enemies. Um, by far the scariest enemy in the game for your battle brother company to fight, especially if and everyone like basically thinks they're the scariest enemy anyways, especially if you have the overwhelm perk, is the chosen. And it's because chosen axemen have adrenaline, which means you can't outspeed them, which means you're always taking fur padding to that fight, whether you like it or not. And in our Battle Brothers build that we're theoretically theorizing on right now, it literally takes Overwhelm rather than Steel Brow. So if you don't like anything that I'm saying in these videos, other than, Noble Sword, Stamina Neutral, and Dodge and Brawny, you're totally like just going to level Stamina and completely ignore the whole initiative Overwhelm thing. The easiest solution in the world, of course, is to replace this perk with Steel Brow and call it good. But Steel Brow is proving to be one of those perks that's really only useful against Chosen. I literally just did a video where I was like, holy shit, I think I figured out the mechanics behind the plus 20 damage on some of their weapons. And it gets added to the penetration damage. So the penetration damage when you get hit in the head is supposed to, normally it'll do like, 16 damage to your head, but then some of the chosen weapons will do like 16 plus 14 damage to your head, which is why it's really, really scary to fight. It's not scary to fight all chosens without Steel Brow. It's specifically scary to fight two-handed axeman chosen, two-handed mace chosen, really. Basically, if the chosen has a two-handed weapon and it has a damn skull on it, that's the thing you don't want to get hit in the head by. If it's just an axe or a cleaver, you can basically ignore them. So that was interesting. But if I take Steel Brow in that fight, what I discovered mathematically was that that brother will be dead on the third head hit 50% of the time with Steel Brow. Without Steel Brow, you'll survive two head hits 100% of the time, and the third head hit will 100% kill you. So I'm still not entirely sold on Steel Brow specifically against Chosen. Lots of injuries, but your brother's not dead, so what the hell do I care? And you can always just reload the save because about basically what we're about to talk about here. All right, so the idea behind these bros, just so we are clear, let me pull out a calculator, is that they come roundabout base with like 105 initiative. Some will be better, some will be less. From that, when you're leveling the brother, every turn you're leveling it up. You're leveling their attack and you're leveling their melee defense every single time they level up. But you're leveling HP until you get about 100 HP with Colossus, and then every remaining level up that you have is going into initiative. You're not leveling your stamina whatsoever. And the reason for that is what we're about to look at here. So as you can see here, this brother has 105 initiative, and he has 105, my bad, he has 105 stamina, 105 initiative. There are two different things you're doing, two different ways you're gearing your bros. So that's how we want it, right? No, like that. So your bro will always have a kite shield and a noble sword 100% of the time. When it comes to armor, you're either going to have a 300 legendary helmet and then like a normal coat of scales for him to wear. And then some of your bros will have like, 300-ish legendary armor, and they will have like a decorated full helm to wear. We don't want to anticipate... we don't want to build our army anticipating not using legendaries, because that's failing to make use of the fact that legendaries exist in the game. But we also don't want to build our bros to anticipate making use of... all of our bros are caked out in legendaries. We're just swimming in an ocean of legendaries, because that's not going to be your experience either. So splitting the difference, I think, is a really good idea here. So it'll be like legendary armor for one bro and then a decorated full helm. We can get that pretty easy. And then yeah, for the legendary helmets that are around about 300-ish armor, we just use Code of Scales. And so we'll have some brothers geared up in this, and we'll have other brothers geared up in that. I don't have a good legendary helmet to showcase here, so we're using this gladiator helmet and just assuming it's basically a 300-ish helmet for 13 stamina cost, which is about what they'll be at. So as you can see here, we start with 105, 105. By the time we fully gear ourselves up in this gear, we've lost like a 42 ish. Let me think. Yeah, we've lost like 44 stamina here specifically on this brother. But this coat, this legendary armor should have fur padding on it, which would further drop this by 2. So this gearing right here would lower our initiative by 56, and it would lower our stamina by 56. If you know anything about Battle Brothers, and you know anything about Noble Swords, and you know anything about Sword Mastery with Noble Swords, you will know that having 50-ish stamina to play with in combat is too much damn stamina for being a Noble Sword build. So this number could easily drop down to like 40, and you would still be super comfortable using a Noble Sword. 40 probably even is still too much damn stamina for a Noble Sword build in Battle Brothers. These weapons are borderline stamina neutral just by themselves. When they get legendary and they even if they low roll on a legendary sword and they're like -1 fatigue on a Noble Sword generation per attack, at that point, it's just completely stamina neutral. So these things are just insanely stamina neutral, which means you can have this stamina bar be incredibly, incredibly low. Right, so if I put on this gear, it drops even further, but as you can see, we still have 46 stamina to play with. What this is basically telling us is that when you recruit a brother and they have like, 90 stamina or 100 stamina, you don't really need to level that stamina with these Noble Sword builds. Instead, you literally just go health to 100, and then every remaining level up you put into initiative. If the initiative roll is low and the stamina roll is high, you can consider, and the brother had low stamina to begin with, you can consider putting it here rather than there, but hopefully you get the idea. But we just need to see that number before we basically come over here and we start crunching the numbers on what initiative level do we try for with our brothers, and why, right? Okay, so say I have 105 initiative on a bro, and when I'm leveling up the brother, I'll be able to put somewhere between 6 to 7 level ups worth of leveling up. Will end up going into initiative as opposed to going into stamina with the brother. Some of those have to go to resolve, but you can easily get your resolve up to like the 42-ish, 45-ish range that you need with the neck pieces eventually in Battle Brothers. So it's not that big of a deal. Like you get like a Hexen trophy necklace, and it's like +6 resolve, and you have a banner. So you don't put all that much ups into resolve either. But like I said, you'll have between 6 and 7. So let's just split the difference and say 6.5. Int is actually really high. The average level for int, leveling int every turn is 4. So we'll just do the dead average. And this is also without gifted. So, factor that in if you want to. But at the end of the day, you'll have like, plus 26 int while leveling this bro, give or take. With gifted, it would easily be plus 30, but we'll just low roll it and say plus 26. So now we have to go 105 plus 26, and then we have to minus something silly from them. It was like 55, 60, somewhere around there. We're just gonna minus 60 from this bro and see what happens, right? We're gonna high roll that number, and you can see that we still get like 71 int. And the reason why initiative, the reason why I bring this up is because you see here I have bros who will range from 75 to 90 int at level 16 and like 65 MD. So if we factor in that we're going to go ultra plus on our bros, we're not just going to stop at level 11. We're going to go to like level 16, which is like 5 levels over that. at that point, I'll be like, putting every single level up. I'll put +1 attack, +1 melee defense, and then +1 initiative. And so I get to add like 5 to this. And very quickly, you can see that we didn't factor in gifted. We didn't factor in, we low rolled some stuff, blah, 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 blah. And that's where I'm getting this number where it's like, yeah, level 16, we're going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 75 int or more, because the damn thieves in your army will have at minimum 110. Like on average, they'll have like 115 initiative. You can imagine what that is. Like if you were at 76 initiative and then the next thing you know, you're adding like 10 to that, yeah, you're like at 86 initiative or higher on these stupid thieves, which is pretty cool if you stop and think about it. Some bros like will have stars. Some of them will hit their HP cap faster than others. Blah, 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 blah. So you'll have between 75 to 90 int. The question then becomes, what does life look like at 75 initiative? The answer is kind of interesting. So versus normal unholds, just about your entire army will outspeed unholds, but you don't need your entire army outspeeding unholds. You're going to have more than enough brothers in your peasant militia, 16-man peasant militia army to that you have one brother at least applying overwhelm to every single unhold, every single turn, no matter, yeah. So you're going to be perfectly fine. Against the white unholds, they're even faster. They're at like 85 int. With them, only your highest initiative brothers will probably outspeed them, but you're still looking at 4 to 5 bros who are just absolutely crushing the attack chance of 4 to 5 unholds per turn. So 75 int is looking pretty good so far. Against Chosen, they have Adrenaline, so you literally cannot outspeed them, so you're just taking fur padding whether you like it or not. At that point, what you're really benefiting from, even though you don't have Steel Brow, is just dodge. Dodge is still doing absolute work for you. So if you have like 65 melee defense, and let's say you have like 75, we'll do the bare minimum. 75 int on your bros. Dodge is adding, I do believe it's 11. Go away. 75 times 0.15, right? Yeah, you're basically adding 11 melee defense. So you have like 65 plus 11, and if I start doing the math on this, it ends up being something kind of stupid. Let me do it really fast. Like minus 50 equals, divide by 2 equals, and then add 50 equals. And then I have to subtract this 63 number from 75 minus 63. Right, so the Chosen have like a 12% chance to hit you. If you didn't have dodge and you're just like normal brothers with shields at that point in the game, they're going to have like a 16% chance to hit you. But as we said before, only certain weapons in a Chosen fight are actually really scary, and they're only really scary when they hit you in the head. So it's much more likely that in these fights, when you know what you're doing, that you will be navigating your even higher melee defense bros to intercept the really scary Chosen Axemen, and then everyone else is just like, oh, I have a 12% chance to be hit by, this dude with just an axe or this dude with just a cleaver that if it hits me in the head, I really don't care all that much. Literally, those other weapons almost double the HP damage when you get hit in the head, which is absolutely disgusting. So it becomes very easy to assume that it's like a 10% chance that these Chosen will hit you, which makes it mathematically like a 1 in 40 attack, event. Tomato, you got to get off me. My dog is crawling all over my... Come on, I'm putting you down. I'm making a video. Be a good boy. Got 2 Yorkies. One's named Potato. The other one's named Tomato. They're pretty funny. What are we trying to say here? Right, it's a 1 in 40 attack event that you're going to take a head hit. And therefore, like, just focus them down. It's not going to be scary at all. Your brother without Steel Brow can survive 2 hits to the head, no problem. Even if they high roll, he'll survive 2 hits to the head, no problem. And then if he dies at the third hit or whatever, just reload the save. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? So Chosen aren't really all that scary. The reason why Chosen are really scary is that they can three-shot just about any brother in the game, especially if they hit them in the head with like the right weapons. Chosen are far more scary for the meta build that uses two-handers than they are for any build that uses shields. If we're talking about int and dodge, at that point it's going to be a complete joke. Like my brothers, my army over here that doesn't have that has Steel Brow but doesn't have the dodge perk or anything like that. And they have probably the worst weapons to try to kill Chosen with in the entire game. I just walk over Chosen fights. It's not even that big of a deal. Even at 16% chance for them to hit me. What are we talking about here? Right. So moving on down the line. Brigands and the Southern guys have about 85 initiative. You can wear fur padding or you can wear hyena padding. So like coats of scales with hyenas, and you'll out initiative them in one case. You won't really out initiative them in the other case unless it's like your really high int brothers. So you'll get like some overwhelm procs here and there. But you're talking about Brigands and Southerners, and the only which late game you're just going to walk the F over as like a free win. It's only really scary. The only thing scary in these armies are the champions and like the executioners, right? Or the champions, executioners, and named characters. I forget the other name of the guy. It's like Sergeant or something. Whatever. Basically like the knight equivalents in these armies. But it doesn't take that much when you have a brother who's like, 90 initiative because he's a high-rolling thief, or he's like an 87 initiative high-rolling thief in his fur padding, to just make his happy little ass way over to standing in front of the thing that you're actually kind of scared of in the army and just start putting overwhelm attacks. So you'll have like 2 or 3 brothers in your armies that can still put overwhelm attacks into the stuff in this. And worst case scenario, you just throw some hyena armor on your brother, and you're just like, yeah, I'll go put overwhelm procs in this guy while you guys massacre the rest of the army, and then we can surround him and dagger him to death. Good stuff. At that point, I think you're using a stick. You'd want to be using like the lowest damaging one-handed weapon in the game because you probably want the armor. But you get the idea. You're just gonna walk over these fights. It's not that big of a deal. Mercenaries is like the only real fight where hyena mantle on your bros is worth talking about. So we are clear. When you put fur padding on your brother's armor, they do much better against penetrating HP damage, hits that aren't to the head, obviously. However, if you swap that out with hyena fur or the hyena mantle by contrast, your brother basically picks up +2 stamina by comparison and +17 initiative by comparison. And at 17, and because of how the dodge perk works, 17 initiative times 0.15 is also worth like +2.5 melee defense, which is kind of gross. So it's not the worst thing in the world to be like, yeah, I'll wear a hyena pelted coat of scales in some of these fights. Mercenaries just happens to be one of them. If you have hyena, you're gonna walk over mercenaries whether you like it or not. But if you have hyena pelted scale coats, you're gonna super walk over mercenaries. Why is this? Because the mercenaries have 75 initiative and they have overwhelm, and I think they also have like fast adaptation and like backstabber and a bunch of other stuff. Mercenaries are trying to do the overwhelm thing. And if you just out initiative them and do the overwhelm thing back to them, that's like a double wombo combo for annihilating mercenaries. Why we're fighting mercenaries, I really don't know. It's one of the rarer fights in the game. So it's like whatever. If you don't want to fight mercenaries in Battle Brothers, I don't think you ever actually do fight mercenaries in Battle Brothers. It just is what it is. Noble armies are where it gets interesting. At 70, 75 initiative, you're going to outspeed just about everything in the noble army. You're going to put overwhelm on just about everyone in their dog. This is a good thing. You can do that while wearing fur padding. This is a good thing because they have fast adaptation, and it's just, I would rather fight them wearing fur padding than fight them wearing hyena mantle, but in this case, we have high enough initiative that we're both going to outspeed them while wearing full padding, which is awesome. So this brother army will do extremely good against noble armies, even better than the one that's already been like Rick-rolling noble armies. If you ever see a battle brother company with like a million, you ever see a battle brother company that has just a ton of these decorated full helms? You only get decorated full helms by basically every one of these decorated full helms is like 1 to 2 noble armies that has been slaughtered by this company right here. And as you can see, we've got 8 of them. So yeah, I already know for a fact that noble armies are not an issue in the slightest. Is that for me? What's going on here? Yeah, he's awake. Yeah, sure. Sec. Making vid. Let's see here. Battle Bros. Well, we're almost done with this vid, and I can go do that podcast. Damn, my voice is gonna be rough with that podcast. Let me tell you. Right. Okay. So the vast majority of enemies that you fight in Battle Brothers are mercenary noble armies, brigand, barbarians, of which the only thing you're really scared of is chosen, and undead and orcs. And by the time we get down to undead and orcs here, you can see that you just sneeze in their general direction, and overwhelm is going to be a thing. So you get to wear full padding, and everyone gets fur padding, and the whole army will outspeed them. And what do you call it? Fur padding. Overwhelm is just going to absolutely crush these armies into the dirt, especially with the fact that you're a dodge overwhelm type deal. The enemies are going to basically have a 5% chance to hit you. The only thing that's even remotely scary with the whole undead thing is the Geist, but we already deal with Geist with banners and whips, and it's like whatever. Ancient undead, it's the polearms that are crashing over your line, but they might have like a 10% chance to hit your bros. With the polearms, probably even less, to be perfectly honest. I haven't actually looked at polearm attack. But what I've learned about peasant militia, one-handed sword and board builds, is ancient undead is probably the hardest fight for you in the entire game. It's ancient undead and orcs that are the hardest fight for one-handed sword and board builds in the game. Ancient undead get absolutely crushed, and also noble armies get absolutely crushed if you're taking throwing axemen that have bullseye. The reason for this is because when you've got like peasant militia have a massive backline of throwing axemen, they can have like 6 throwing axemen and a banner in their backline. Their backline literally looks like this, except these 2 guys are throwing axemen. At that point, when they have bullseye, you no longer kill ancient undead from front to back, meaning you don't have to go through the shield wall and then go through the pikemen in the back, which is what makes the scenario really deadly for you as brothers. You end up killing them like back to front far more often than front to back. You literally, like, all my throwing axemen and javelins literally slaughter the pikemen in the back, and their frontline shield wall spam is still going strong in the front. It's objectively hilarious. So that's how that gets dealt with. And then the only other one that really is really scary is orcs. Orcs are scary for one-handed builds to deal with because past day 200 they get 75 attack in the game. They do their charging shenanigans, which can suck. They can push through your bros and get on your ranged guys in the back, but I've dealt with that by making sure the ranged guys have like are even tankier than the frontline dudes. So it's like, whatever, come at me, bro. So I get to take the javelins even to that fight. But what really makes orcs annoying to deal with is they're in heavy armor and they all come with like 200 HP. So if you're taking one-handed weapons that are good against armor, you're going to struggle against the HP. If you're taking one-handed weapons that are good against the HP, you're going to struggle against the armor. The one-handed weapons that are good against the HP are the daggers and the swords. We are taking swords. So you might think we'd struggle with the armor, but you just use those crazy ranged bros that I was talking about to completely shred their armor, and then the noble swords will just absolutely murk the crud out of their HP. But since we are dodge bros, they're going to have a really hard time hitting us. And since we're out-initiating them with Overwhelm perk, yeah, basically all the orcs in the army are going to have like a 5% chance to hit you. And you're just going to absolutely kill them. So it's looking good for the army design. It just seems to be our minimum initiative requirement on our bros after wearing armor is somewhere around 75. If you drop, it's somewhere between 70 and 75. If you get 70, you'll outspeed the noble armies. You won't outspeed these guys, but you really don't care. You don't care about the chosen either. You're just gonna they'll hit you a little bit more often, and then you outspeed and overwhelm these guys, which is great. But once we get to 75, next thing we know, we're like super effective against unholds. Mercenaries aren't really a problem anymore. And you're getting awfully close with your really high initiative bros to doing bad things, to things that you don't like seeing in the brigands and the southern armies. So, nope, I like it. It's looking good, but I just figured I would make a video on what the actual stats look like around here. So anyways, I'm going to end the video here, and Deus Ult boys.